You guys good? You guys ready to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm ready for that transition, Mr. Stoic. No. All right, welcome back to the podcast, guys. This is, I believe, week 3. I believe we're on week 3 now. We have the EU takeover, as you guys can see. We've started a little bit early today. So welcome, everybody. Chris, good to see you. Marvin, good to see you. Obaba, good to see you. I hope you guys are doing well. For those of you guys who do not know us, our nameplates are above. But everyone here is from Squad 0. So I just like to say congratulations, guys, on your Siege tournament.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Were all of you participating in it this week, or?
Me and Chris are fighting.
Yeah.
I actually haven't. I'm on a siege break right now, like no motivation. But I will come back.
Marvin, it's
on the
lacking.
next one. I'm sorry. Once I can
We
select
miss
once.
you, Marvin. Come back.
That's okay. It makes sense. You know, every once in a while you take a break and take that time for yourself for what you need. Yeah. Whether it's work or life or just lack of motivation. Having that break and that separation kind of really helps with the mental aspect of summoners, where everyone kind of just sits there and they're like, just farm all day, every day. And you're like, you need to take a break eventually, you know? You need to have that moment. But yeah.
For me, I didn't
Sorry,
even
Brett?
notice Marvin was gone. Like I noticed like 2 days before the tournament. I saw that it wasn't in the guild, and I have more friendly, so I just like looked at his profile, and there was like some random guild.
That's savage. That's actually
Well, that's like typical Obabo. He doesn't realize anything.
I mean, at least not when it comes to like guild content, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of want to talk about like Siege tournament stuff and get your guys' opinions on it. I guess my first question that I wanted to bring up and talk about with, you know, our podcast here is like, how do you feel about it, right? You know, we've recently had our, if you guys haven't seen already, the with Hive notice with the Korea guilds where they talked with come to us directly about things they felt in the game. They felt like Siege was neglected. They felt like Guild Wars have been neglected. They feel like come to us only really cares about RTA. And also, you know, the discussions of Kaki nerf, having Kaki in the tournament, having Kaki after the tournament. I kind of just want to like get your guys' opinions on that. Like, how do you feel about it all? Let's start with, I guess, how do you feel about the current state of Siege, like rewards and balance and the actual gameplay itself?
You know what my biggest problem with Siege is that I really like the tournaments because it's 1v1.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like the 1v1 situation, there's always drama or stress, or, you know, it's always 2 guilds battling it out and one chilling and just taking the win, or just totally getting destroyed by 2 other guilds.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I really like the tournament, because it's the 1v1 setup, and it just really is the strongest guild who wins, instead of the guild that has the most friends in the other guild, or are least enemies of the other guild, or so that's why I really like the tournament and the 1v1 setup. So that's more in terms of setup of Siege. And
So you feel like it's more fair, right? Because, you know, you can always see it 2v1, and sometimes there's just like some underhanded stuff that goes on depending on how the Siege goes.
I mean, general in the whole Siege drama, or just the whole season. Either we have a very easy Siege and we play against 2 guilds that know they don't want to face us 1v1, so they're just 1v1ing the other guilds, so to make sure they don't get turret. And then pretty much we have nothing to do. Then we can't even finish our swords, so we should be happy if everybody can do 3 swords. Or we are full on battling against, for example, Aftermath EU, and before we really just dumped all our swords on each other and then one would win. But since our sieges are generally quite close, maybe in season it was lately a bit less, but in finals, for example, the difference is just a few swords. So if then the 3rd guild decides to take 1 tower more from one or the other guild, that could already decide the win or the lose. So in terms of that, I think it's not that interesting, and mostly myself, I'm just slacking. I just do my 3 hits and and I'm done with Siege until the tournament starts, of course. So, yeah, I think in terms of setup, I really like the 1v1.
I see. Well, I mean, it makes sense. I haven't personally been in Siege in a long time. I just rejoined up in a G3 guild, but I haven't done like competitive Siege in a long time. But I've watched very avidly other guilds do it, and I feel like a lot of people are kind of under the same umbrella. They have that same feeling of like, it's frustrating getting 2v1'd. It's frustrating like not being able to play. It's also frustrating like being in situations where you can't like complete most or all of your wings. So like I get that. I actually agree with it for the most part. I think there's a lot of things that could be adjusted, but I'm not quite sure how I would suggest they change them. What do you think, Obaba? Do you have any like thoughts on how Siege could be adjusted, or just if you want to elaborate on things Chris already talked about?
I mean, for me, it's like pretty much the same as Chris, for where like during the season, Siege just feels like a chore, and especially now there's like no much reason to push as long as you're in top 20. But then there's also like issues where, for example, Doubt, I think, who are like a probably top 4 or 5 guild in terms of strength on EU, they almost didn't make it to the tournament because of like weird matchmaking during normal Siege with the 1v2s and all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of issues like that. But like the tournament itself is probably the only time that I actually enjoy Siege.
So because so you mentioned matchmaking, I guess a lot of 2v1s happen kind of closer to the end of the season where people are really pushing for the rank, right?
Yeah, and
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there was like for one instance where we Squad Zero, who like won the last tournament, we fought Doubt probably 5 times in a row or something, close to the end. So they almost didn't make it just because they fought us 5 times in a row for no apparent reason.
I see. So let me ask you this then: do you think that a system where you could implement like a win rate over the season as well as like a points, like, so right now it's based on like whoever the top points are that go into the Siege tournament, right? Do you think that if it was chosen by both win rate and by points, it would be more relevant maybe? Right, like let's say you go the plus, that kind of changes the idea of like the preseason or like the mid-season being relevant, because you guys are saying like the mid-season is boring because no one really cares until you get to the end and then it's Siege tournament, right? But what if you needed to like have a good win rate and be within like the top ranking points? Like let's say you know you're a guild that sneaks into the top like 17 or like 15 or something, but like you lost most of your sieges versus like all the other guilds in there. Do you think that, you know, a guild that just got like 2v1 4 times in the last month or last 2 weeks like should have that spot instead?
But I think 2v1 is not the biggest problem. I mean, it happens, but I don't think that's the biggest problem. I think the matchmaking is the biggest problem, like Obaba just said. Like, if you're unlucky, and like on EU, you generally see Squad Zero and Aftermath winning almost all their sieges unless they face each other. So if you're unlucky and you have to face Squad Zero and Aftermath maybe like 6 out of the last 8 sieges, it might kick you out of the top 20. Because every time you're sure you won't get first, and then if you also have another strong guild with there, you're bound to, for example, Doubt if they face AF Legends, which in the tournaments, I think Legends won the last 3 times, but it was all on a few swords difference. So if they face us and AF Legends and Doubt, for example, then they will battle it out for 2nd or 3rd place. And if that happens too often and you're the one which is getting 3rd, you might get kicked out of top 20, while actually in terms of strength, you are at least top 8.
I see.
So it's very random. Like even last season, I think before the last battle, we had who were there again? Dragon Odins and Don Legends. Well, I think in terms of strength, they are probably like ranked 7 or 8, and they were ranked 3 and 4. And that was mostly because they were avoiding the top guilds, and the others weren't. So it could be. I think that's a bigger issue than getting 2v1. 2v1 happens, but it doesn't happen a lot.
I think it's also hard because.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because like matchmaking and like 1v2 situation, it just feels so like disconnected from the tournament because the tournament is in a whole other format. so it feels like a completely different thing when you play in tournament than normal Siege. But
Do you think the
even-
tournament should have some adjustments, or do you think it's more of a like a mid-season thing?
I think the tournament is fine, but it's hard to do something about regular Siege. Because even if you would have done Siege to just be 1v1, I think that would have taken away from the tournament as well. It wouldn't feel like special either. But it would be more fair, I guess.
I think there are like easy fixes to at least not. I think they should make it that you don't get the like same guild over and over. For example, that if you face the really strong guild in the one siege, that you can't have it again, because then that shit can't happen. Like you get the strong siege guild like 8 or 9 times, or even less, more, whatever times in a row. For example, as Chris mentioned with Daup, they got squad like 6 or 7 times in a row. Then they have to fight for second or third and can basically almost never get first. And then you just drop points and everyone just climbs above you even though you're really strong and maybe can't even make it for that.
So I guess the idea is something like, you know, not being able to match the same, you know, the guild who won, for example, like twice in a row or something.
That would help.
Yeah, there needs to be some logic there. It really feels totally random right now. Like, I think we can, as a rank 1, you can phase until rank 15. And it's very random which guild you get. I'm not sure exactly, it's 15 or 20, but it's somewhere in that range. But it feels, after that, it feels completely random what you get. And for some guilds, it might be very unlucky. And then you also see more towards the end that people try to play very strategically. And I think there's more chance for like 2v1s or some nasty stuff happening because of the rankings.
I see. It makes sense. The system is I always like to put it this way, but I always like to say it's a great first iteration, right? You know, there's always things that can be improved on it, but the system itself is not so bad, but you know, can always use improvement, right?
Yeah, but I think in general, I'm very happy that they implemented the tournaments and they are really fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Yeah. Also, to go along with those notices, I'm pretty excited to hear about like new events that will come with that. So they were talking about exclusive Guild Wars transmogs that will be permanent. They were talking about prediction events for Guild Wars. I think that would be pretty cool to see for Siege tournament. Obviously, once COVID ends, it'd be great to see another like Siege tournament, like live involved stuff where there be people come out to the events and stuff like that. But yeah, that's further down the road. So speaking of Siege tournament, I think everybody wants to know what your guys' opinions are on this, but I am under the assumption that you also used Kaki a lot in your Siege, whether it was defense or offense. I know in North America it was used quite a bit on the global server. So how do you guys feel about it, pre and post changes?
About Kaki
for
itself?
Siege and for other content. I'm curious about Siege first, though.
Just about Kaki or about Kaki as in using him in the tournament?
Using him in the tournament, and then also just in general of the unit. But I'm very curious about how you guys feel about him in the tournament, like how his role played before he was nerfed, and then how you feel like he'll be afterwards. Because I know like on global, it was a very significant factor.
I mean, on EU, we used it on Net 4 Des. Aftermath EU didn't use them. So there were only about 10 defenses with Kaki in total in the whole final. And they were all on our side. So I think in terms of using him, he was OP. So it makes sense to use him. I don't really like the timing. Like, of course, I totally agree with the Koreans that they really dislike the timing on when it was released. I agree there. It should be more. They think they can do way better on planning those kind of batches, or make it not usable until a certain time, but you can summon it in a lot longer time frame. And in terms of use, I think it's a bit of a. It was a very strong unit, and especially in the teams where we used it, like we also banked on some. Like we used a lot of Orion Kaki Peta to not get turn 1 and to add some RNG in there. But yeah, we heard some people getting destroyed by Kaki proccing 3 times. Turn 1 and literally killing 3 water monsters. So in terms of strength, he was OP, but yeah, if you have 10 OP units in your disposal, then it's stupid to not use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was also kind of hard to gauge because we only had like one set of Kaki that was actually skilled up.
Yeah.
So that probably mattered a lot as well. But
Yeah,
overall, I think
your defenses are skilled Kakis, the other half are not unskilled, so you just like mix
Yeah.
them in so nobody knows.
But I mean, I think it was in Asia's where they all changed their name to the same name, so you couldn't like track defenses.
Yeah,
That was
that's,
pretty cool. But
it's a pretty popular thing in some of the servers over there.
Yeah.
You see it a little bit in China server and Korea server too. People will all change their name to the same thing with the same profile picture, so you just have to like guess who's who.
yeah, it's cool, but I think it's a pretty dumb like mechanic if you can even call it that.
Yeah.
But as for
It always makes me wonder about the blind arena concept, right? It's like, should that kind of
Yeah.
content have no names, for example, so you can't do that, right?
But as for Kaki, I'm not sure since we didn't like fight it on defense. But for us, it was like probably 3rd or 4th set of most like successful defenses, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you still would have performed just as well, like without Kaki? Like, let's say Kaki didn't exist. Do you think it would have been just as easy? Like, would it be
I mean,
harder, easier?
Siege wasn't easy, but I don't think it was like it could have been significant since it was a new unit, so it's harder to find counters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was deciding factor, but it was definitely poor timing to have like new mechanics come in just for the Siege finals.
Yeah, I don't think the results mattered in the end because our Kaki defense actually didn't perform really well.
We had like 4 wins in total, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah. So in terms of performance, it wasn't that well, but anyways, the win rates are quite high. So probably all of the other IDs that we had would probably at least also got 4 wins. So or maybe 3 wins or 5 wins, in that range.
I see.
So I think there it didn't matter that much.
All right, so Kaki didn't seem to make a significant difference in the defense side of things, but what about offense? Did you find you guys were using him on offense pretty effectively and efficiently, or not really?
I haven't seen anybody use it in offense.
I used him once on offense, and it was probably the closest offense I was to losing.
Oh, that was the Orion offense, right?
no, it was that was like the one but that was that one was pretty scuffed too. But it was when I used Cian, Rakuni, Kaki into
against what?
Against Ayunu, Clara, Vigor.
That sounds really scary. I'll be honest. That sounds really scary.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah.
But like, my thought behind it was that like Ayunu is never gonna target my Rakuni Kaki, and both Rakuni and Kaki are like insanely tanky, so I can just spam CN bombs until I win. But then I can't remember what happened, but something happened with like Clara, because they ran violent Claras, so the Claras just went ham with their 3rd skill. So
it's skill 3 into
wasn't as
deep
easy.
take until someone else moves into it.
yeah.
Kind of scary. Yeah, so Kaki, basically. Do you guys think like after the changes he'll still be pretty strong on defense, or like is it not going to be a big consideration for you?
I don't think he's usable right now. On
Like
defense
at all.
I mean, I think he's usable in RTA and stuff sometimes, into certain booster comps. But I don't think on Siege defense, because like the thing is, even before the nerf, he could deal insane damage if he procced a lot, but he doesn't have like any innate randomness to him, which makes him scary on defense. So I think that was so I don't think he's that useful now that he even lost his insane damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he even lost like insane tankiness.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Like 30% defense is a lot, especially if you build him on high attack. So now he's even easier to kill than before. So
And he deals less damage.
yeah.
It's just less bonus.
I think within 1 or 2 weeks he will be out of our defenses and he will never be used again.
Yeah, it's a bit sad. I think he got hit
sad
fairly
to hear.
hard.
That was like the obituary of Kaki. Like,
I mean,
you'll all have forgotten about him.
I mean,
Don't
he
worry
got us
about
the
it.
win, so He will always have a place in the heart, I guess. But the thing is, even though we got hit insanely hard with the nerf, I'm still like confident that he's the best elemental Onmyouji. So like, I still think people are probably gonna skill him up with Onmyouji and stuff later down the line. He can be a solid like a defense breaker at least.
I do really like the concept of the monster though. If they find that right balance, like it takes others to rune sets. So I do like the concept behind the monster. Just I think they need to tweak it a bit more.
Me too. I agree with that. Like the concept behind Kaki was amazing, and it was just this cool unit that could be utilized, where it didn't punish you for fighting the wrong elements because you didn't need crit damage. So like you could still deal a fair amount of damage, but they just like it's like they tested it with no runes on. I swear every unit that comes out, they test it, and then they're like, nobody has runes like that, and then everybody like there are tons of players. And it wasn't even like the usual one where it's like G3 players can abuse this. It's like anybody can abuse this thing so hard because it's so strong.
And the thing is, I'm not even sure if they tested it without runes, because when I was leveling my Kaki, he could pretty much solo 5-man hell without any runes.
That is insane.
So,
Yeah,
I don't think they even tested without runes, so...
The water one, I was leveling that with like max resist, like barely any stats, and it was just like clearing everything on hell, like no effort. I was like, this thing is busted.
Yeah,
and then everyone's like, Kaki's so OP compared to this, and I was like, all right, I gotta see how strong Kaki is. So I'm gonna do one attack, and I was just like, my whole team is dead. Yeah, so I guess we've Kaki is rip Guild Wars content, but you mentioned that you still think he's a pretty strong elemental bruiser for RTA. Where do you feel like he fits in? Like what kind of situations do you feel like he's best against?
Probably if you're fighting some Artemil, Singshei type of thing with a lot of cleanses where you just need to reapply Deep Break. And you can still like win a situation 1v1 versus Artemil. Maybe even Singshei, if he happens to be there.
So then you also feel like these skill ups are an absolute requirement then, right? Because like the defense break chance on without skill ups is really low.
Yeah, they are for sure. But that goes for pretty much any unit that you're looking to actively use, I suppose. But I think he's also viable for siege offense in the same way.
Against what kind of comps? Same ones, similar?
I mean, if you find yourself using Commune a lot in offense, you can probably find a place where you want to use Kaki for defense breaks and being a fire bruiser as well.
Do you feel like destroys the build in that case, and like violent destroy?
Violent destroy, violent will, violent broken can all be fine, I think.
Yeah, because he can set up to kill himself as long as they have no like actual heal. I guess the destroy is mainly if they're like running a sustained focus comp, right?
Yeah, like if you're fighting mollies, but I don't think we're seeing that many mollies now either.
Mollies are betas, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Overall, though, do you guys feel like pretty negatively about the whole Kaki thing? Like after everything's said and done, like keep in mind, let's include like the refunds, let's include the like all those things. Like, do you feel okay about how things were? Like, do you feel okay about some things and not others? Like, I kind of want to hear your opinions on it, because I think us as content creators, like a lot of people will ask us and they will continue to ask us. I made a video on it. I'm sure lots of people have made videos on it, but I want to know what you guys think, because I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys about it yet.
I actually think the compensation is actually quite nice. I mean, you got 3 Devil Mons, you get like the Devil Mons back if you invested in him. So even if you still think he's pretty decent, you still can invest it back. If you used Onmyouji, you get them back. So I think that's pretty positive. What I don't like is the changes at all, because I think taking away his damage was fine, but I wouldn't have taken away his like tankiness, because there were like pretty good counters anyway against him. Like additional damage really wrecked him, because he had most of the time really low HP because of his base HP, or 1 bomb piece dead basically. So I wouldn't have taken that away, but other than that, I'm pretty like happy how they handled it.
Yeah, I think they handled the refund thing really well. Of course, that's how the way that it was introduced and the timing was terrible. Yeah, that's one I really still think it's hard to understand it. It should be simple, right? Just plan things between seasons, between RTA seasons. Actually, also what they wrote now that they want to really do the balance patches between the RTA seasons. I never really understood why they did that. The balance patches like 3 weeks before season ends to begin with. So I think those things they should be easy to adjust and change from company from the Contrast side. But I do really like how they handled it in terms of refunding and basically giving you the chance to wanting to build him after the fix or not. Because I think that's also one of the things that were really kind of the same thing happens with twins, right? They got nerfed really quickly. They were too OP. They got nerfed really quickly, and a lot of people felt stolen because they invested a lot of money or they bought a lot of packs to get them. So in a way, to get the compensation, that one feels okay for me.
I see what you mean.
I think even the timings, I just remember way back, I think Martina got nerfed like 1 or 2 weeks before SWC. And there were quite a few people who only used like China Martina to get like in SWC, I think like Dave. So Dave had to rearrange his whole account just for SWC because he was using twins all the time and now twins were like basically dead.
Yeah, I remember that. A good example, Archer was using Shana Martina, Sierra Gianna, right, literally up until like a week before that tournament hit.
Yeah.
That was pretty unfortunate.
Yeah.
Overall, rip Kaki. They did an alright job afterwards, but the initial kind of release and everything was it was messy to start with. They cleaned up pretty well though. It is unfortunate that they kind of brought him to a level where he's pretty weak, but I do think that I do pretty much agree with you guys with the whole like Kaki is definitely on the weaker side now. It's going to be harder to use for a lot of people. A lot of the lower end players will probably struggle to use him effectively without having like insanely good runes on it. But I am happy to see that with the way they handled the compensation and such, like that there is faith that things can improve as they go.
Yeah, not only the compensation, also communication to begin with. They're very open right now, which is very nice because I think in the last years they were more or less not explaining their moves or changes. So I do like that part as well.
Yeah, it'd be like that. So I guess outside of just Kaki, I mean, Kaki is the one that got the big nerf hammer. But how do you guys feel like all of the Onmyoushis and the Onmyoujis have affected content? Not just RTA as well. Like, do you see any usage for any of those in Guild Wars or Siege or even like maybe Arena? I know like I've been watching a lot of the Onmyoushis. I think the light and dark ones are pretty nuts. I think the dark one's really nuts, but the light one is just really fun.
Yeah, there's like...
I'm curious what you guys think about it.
There's like one thing I don't understand. Why the fire one gets nerfed, but the dark one doesn't?
Yeah.
Because I think the dark one is like the fire one times 20.
What a fun logic. It's an LDNF 5, so it can't be nerfed. It must be stronger.
But
Dark one is...
I mean, Dark One is probably gonna get a nerf as well. It's just that like no one sees it yet, and it hasn't been like put in his best position either, so you don't know the limits of the unit.
I saw like one replay where it just had a tech buff, didn't get stunned, so it hadn't like its 50% damage buff, and it did 34k on an Okeanos, like on the whole enemy team without defense break, just with a tech buff alone. And I was like, how can this exist? Like a Lucian on steroids, basically.
Yeah, he will be out definitely when a few more people get it. And then streamers start to use it, and then everybody starts to see how OP he is, and then he will get nerfed for sure.
He's actually wild though. Like the amount of damage you output from that thing is insane. Although the funniest part is the first one that I fought, the guy ran Will, so he just lost. I just stunned everything else on the team, and then I just killed it because it was on Will. It's like, okay, well, I don't think you know how that works. But yeah, I do think like his mechanic and design is pretty strong. can't be killed while under an ability effects. Makes you really like rethink the way you approach killing him. Obviously, control still exists and it's pretty strong for a lot of things, but like he is pretty scary. Like his base stats are wild.
Yeah, that's...
Right.
But it's
Nah,
also weird because like he's supposed to counter CC, but right now we're at a point where there's not a single anti-CC unit that counters CC, kind of, because Ganioki, even Onmyouji is gonna die to Ganioki. Like he has no chance.
Yeah, all the CC units like right now in the meta just like also deal a shitload of damage.
Yeah, like Chungpung as well. Like even
Yeah,
Onmyouji just dies.
Ton of damage. Even without defense break, you actually still hit pretty hard. I mean, you're an attack type as well, so you have stats and scaling geared towards that. I mean, it's pretty wild. I don't know what you guys run artifact wise, but like for my Chungpung, I run like 200% additional damage by speed and then additional damage HP and attack.
Yeah,
You just might as well, right? Like you multi hit so much that you might as well just keep running more additional damage.
I mean, I just rolled a quad additional damage by speed right now during the podcast for fire.
Okay.
So-
You
But
sure?
it's only 147, so it's not crazy.
only 147.
I mean, only 147 for a quad is. But yeah, that's my
Bravo.
first additional speed by quad.
I
That's not
rolled
bad,
the
though.
triple
Pretty-
with 148
Wow,
just
that's
now.
probably like a 260 plus additional speed. That's insane.
Yeah. So probably going on Juno or Oki pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty crazy. But yeah, so what about the other units? I guess Onmyouji's are pretty standard. We don't really see the water or the wind one. I've tried water one countless times, and I just feel like it's not good enough. It's like a really shitty Jaeger. Like every time I use the water one, I would rather use Fire Monkey unless I'm fighting Artemil. I think that's like the only exception.
Mm,
Yeah, how do you guys
Don't
feel
have-
about the Onmyoujis?
I think the Onmyoujis are only good like the water and light.
And I think
Have you-
even
Has anyone seen a dark Onmyoji yet?
Yes.
yeah.
Do you?
A friend pulled it, and I
Heard?
think it's pretty bad.
Okay. That's unfortunate. Really unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't understand why the third skill or even the second skill can be resisted. Because that makes no sense. If the skill gets resisted, she's basically a dead unit. And even if it doesn't get resisted, it's not that great either.
So we talked about it. We talked about it last week on the podcast. But what do you guys think about the concepts of like either karma or the kiss of death being a skill that like if you miss, it resets the cooldown? Obviously, you lose the turn still, but do you think that would like kind of the Sekhmet treatment? Like, do you
I
think that would be
think-
enough, or do you think it still wouldn't be strong
No,
enough?
I think. I mean, I said this before. I think Karma is like the worst skill in the game that has ever existed. I think it needs like some serious buffs. Either go up to like 4 turns silence, or I don't know. It just feels like a worse version of any silence that exists. Because
Yeah.
sure, the gimmick to lose 50% HP is nice, but right now it's like, okay, do you want to just be silenced for 2 turns, or do you want to? Like, it's having a silence that you can just choose to opt out of, which doesn't make that much sense.
Yeah, the opponent can choose to take the damage. He can choose to do something,
Mhm.
which makes it a lot weaker than if he's just stunned or slapped or anything else.
Yeah, and it only works like for 1 turn. If you lose like a skill when it's turn up, gone. So don't understand it either. Why it's I think if it stayed it might be better, but even then I don't think it's pretty good at all.
But I think like the one thing that I like with these units is that it's a lot of new things they're bringing in, and I think
Yeah,
it's
like good shells that they can adjust in the
Yeah.
future.
exactly. So that's why I'm surprised that Kaki was. I mean, I guess the dark one as well, that they're so overblown compared to the other ones. But as for the NAF5s, I mean, water one is cool, but it's not something that's gonna shift the meta or anything.
It's definitely just more like a fun pick. Like I've been playing with her on a friend's account, and I think that she's good if you pick her in the right time. But she's not one of those units where you just like draft this every single game. She's not a Water Ryu, she's not an Oki, she's not a Chungpong, right? She's not like a Sierra or anything like that. But she accentuates certain types of playstyles really well. So like obviously this is based on the unit pool, but like I had a Sierra Oki Yunhong Shizuka +1 draft, and it was just like it's really strong because you have to choose what you want to ban, right? Like you either just rotate really fast or they ban out the Shizuka and there's no bomb. It's no second bomb or ban the Sierra, right? But I don't know. It's neat because I like the concept of being able to run her either faster or slower, where she can kind of like slot into your team in different places because of her skill 3. But I do think that overall, her biggest downside is that if you're not, I feel like she's better when you're like you're about to start losing, and then you can pop skill 2 and change everything, right? Like everyone's talking about her skill 3, but I really think that her skill 2 is the strong strength for her.
I mean, I haven't played her at all yet. I mean, I don't have her, but I think where I would slaughter is kind of like a Triana, but fits better with high impact units. Meanwhile, you use Triana with bruisers more often.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the place she takes.
She does fit really well in the exact role that you're talking about. She fits there really nicely. And even her scaling with bombs is like not horrible. So if she has 600 less attack than Sierra, she does about half the bomb damage, but I mean that's still pretty significant. You know, it's a free 6k bomb on a 1-turn cooldown, so it's like a basically a free stun, right?
Yeah.
I think with Gianna, she's like pretty good. It's
Yeah,
like
she's
Gianna
crazy with
offers
60
bomb, stun, like just her and Gianna's really disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
But coming back to Karma, I think it would be interesting if they make it like unresistible and maybe also being able to be applied on immunity monsters. So they really have to make a choice.
Getting into a dangerous world, sir.
I think one thing they could do with that skill to make it cool is, like, if you choose to make a if you choose to make a skill, then the like karma debuff should refresh, so it doesn't disappear.
Like it stays on you.
Yeah, if you choose to use a skill, then it just like refreshes the karma debuff.
So it has 2 turns again.
Yeah, exactly. So like either you treat it as a silence, or it just reapplies if you use a skill, so it doesn't feel like just a word silence. Then it's still like, I guess, pretty close to Dark Onmyouji's skill, where you take a lot of HP every turn.
What if instead of that, like, they made it 3 turns, and it's like an uncleansable debuff. Once you hit it, it just stays there, and you have to wait the 3 turns, or you can just eat the silence down. You can eat the -50 twice or 3 times if you wanted.
Yeah, they
I
can
guess
do
the
that as
concept
well.
that we're looking for is like, as it's resistible and cleansable, it's too easy to deal with it, right? You can either wait it out, and it's not that much pressure, or you just miss and it does nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just doesn't seem really good because of...
Maybe they should give Karma a strip into Karma. Single target strip into Karma. Because then even if you miss the Karma, at least you got the strip. Right? You can run her fast then.
Yeah, but then she's like worse other single target.
Where's Iris?
She's like a worse Thor.
She's like worse than like any single target stripper then, even then. So don't think that's enough, especially for the win, because she only has that skill. She has like nothing else basically. So
It's so hard. There's so many things to change without like trying to make it OP, you know? Like you want to make it good, but at the same time you're like worried that you're just gonna make it too OP.
But like one thing with the Kaki nerf and everything that was good was that it was so soon. So I just hope that like Comtus can do more with the balance patches, because a lot of them are just text without actually doing much. And this shows that they could actually do some more actual changes and then change right after if that would be the case. Because that would be nice to see. Because sometimes we just wait for like 3 months and nothing really changes with that.
Nothing changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they nerf something that you're just like, why did you nerf that? Or they buff things that just don't make sense as well. You're like, all right, well, Ethna's stronger again, Poseidon's stronger again. Sick.
Chonpong is broken.
Yeah, Chonpong is pretty busted. I think, okay, so I know we didn't technically write and slot this in as a topic, but I feel like we've kind of led ourselves towards this. But I gotta ask, like, let's talk about buffs and nerfs. Let's talk about buffs and nerfs in RTA and in Siege, because I think it's important to talk about Siege, because Siege meta is like just as stale usually as RTA meta has become recently, right? Like RTA meta is pretty rough, but it's gotten worse and worse and worse in the last couple of months, right? Like everybody picks the same 4 units. You see Water Ryu, Chongpeng, Okeanos +1 in every game.
Yeah.
Right.
Or at least.
I'm guilty of it. I just pulled a Chongpeng, so I've been using it every single game. But like, let's talk about Siege. What do you guys feel like is too strong in Siege, and what do you feel like mechanics wise could be improved to make Siege more interesting in terms of like diversity and such?
I'm not too sure about Siege right now because I feel like the last balance patch we had is the only one that has affected Siege ever since Molong nerf, I guess.
Yeah. The Molly and
Because-
Vigor change, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I feel like the meta is still up in the air for Siege defenses.
I mean, there's not many choices. Like
No.
in Siege, you search reliable. For example, a lot of Clara is being used because it's the only reliable stripper.
Yeah.
You see a lot of Commune because Commune is tanky, does damage, and has speed lead.
Yeah, and heals him.
Yeah. So I think, like in terms of Siege, I think it's been worse than RTA because it's already for such a long time. It's pretty much the same. And the only thing that Vigor changed is that it was nerfed, so Vigor couldn't be used anymore. But before it was Commune, Vigor, Savannah, for example. Now it's you're still using Communes, you're still using Savannahs, you're just not using Vigor anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess like that's kind of why I asked like what kind of mechanics do you feel like need to be worked on so that people can have more viable defenses and offenses. Like right now, things are really strict because we're looking for things that are consistent, things that are, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, units that are jack of all trades. Like they have everything, right? Like Commune, for example, is a good unit that just has everything.
Yeah.
Right. What kind of mechanics do you think need to either be released on units or like updated on units that already exist that would make things like what units would you want to buff to see used in Siege defense?
Well, one thing that I really miss is some way of Oblivion on Net 4.
So it was something else on top of just having Herney, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have
Actually, a monster that's usable.
Ayuni. Ayunu has
Ayunu.
Oblivion.
as well.
Oh, true.
Yes,
Yeah,
you.
it has it now. I forgot about that. When was that last patch or the patch before?
No, I think patch before.
It was the same patch as Cichlid and Sarin, I think. Or was
Yeah.
It was 2 patches ago. Yeah, Ayunu
CM?
has
Yeah.
they took away the
Oblivion.
branding, right? And they gave him Oblivion.
Yes.
Branding is still as they took
Oh,
away his stun, right? I
Oh,
think.
yeah. Sorry, my bad.
So
my
he's
bad.
kind of nerfed in a way, but yeah.
He's not as good on defense, but he's okay on offense.
Chris probably didn't let any Ionus move on him. This whole,
No,
Lucian.
they died before they moved, so it's
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for Siege you need like good speed leads, because I think there's only 2 good, maybe 3 good speed leads for Siege. That's like Cayman, Galleon, maybe Sarah, but that's it.
What about Zenobia?
I choose Zenobia. Forgot like the Zenobia kind of thing.
But then it forces you to use twins, right? Like you have no choice.
Yeah.
You have to use twins in that situation.
yeah. And Mimir is good with an LD unit.
Mhm.
Mimir. Like Mimir is not. I think more like free to play option for speed leads, so
Yeah.
everyone can use it.
LD now for a free to play option. Yeah, no, I know what you mean though. Like he's not one of the premium choices. Do you feel like they should consider like maybe making some updates to existing 2As, or do you think maybe some new 2As towards Siege could be effective? I feel like that's really where we get like new units. Like we don't really get new Siege units out of units that come out of get released into the game, or like old units getting buffed. I feel like almost all of the Siege units that kind of like take over or like start to do well end up just being these 2A units because they get so many stats, right? They become these 4.5 stars that are like moderately easy to skill, you know?
Yeah, obtainable for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, that's what changed the meta with Vigor, right? Vigor came out and he was just busted. High base speed, 3-turn debuff, and he was like obtainable. Everyone could get one. Or
But
multiple.
I honestly didn't mind the pre-nerf figure. I think in general, especially on EU, the win rates already went down by a lot. So for me, the nerf on figure wasn't really necessary. Like people learned to deal with him.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, I can't comment too much on it. I've been in siege farming for so long, but it does make me wonder because, like, I think that a lot of people felt like it was too strong, but I think a lot of people also didn't necessarily want to build a lot of counters to it and like really be fully flushed out and prepared to fight it. Another topic that always comes up when it comes to like Guild Wars changes, vamps, revamps, etc. Leader skills, right? Like a lot of leader skills are outdated.
Yeah.
You know, beast monks, for example. If beast monks had relevant leader skills, they could probably be pretty decent in siege, right? What about like chimeras? If chimeras had decent leader skills, they could probably be better in siege. Like Rakan is okay in siege right now, but could definitely be better with a real leader skill.
True.
You know, what kind of units do you think could make like an immediate comeback, giving them a leader skill that's not speed lead?
I mean, I think HP lead is really good for siege as well on defense. It's just that there's not really any good units that have it. Like Molan used to have it, and you always used
Did you say
lead.
Yeah, I think HP lead's great if like you have global leads or like Guild Wars leads, right? But like single element leads just don't feel that strong to me.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you have a Retash with 44% HP for Guild Wars, like he would instantly be really, really good.
44% would be a bit much, maybe, but
yeah, but that's
why not?
But isn't 44% HP the standard for like standalone Guild Wars and Siege?
Yeah, it is. Otherwise, it's like global.
Yeah, but I think it's really weird to have like leader skills that are limited to areas. I don't like it that much.
No.
Because it feels bad because you never know. Like Sylvia, if you get Sylvia, like what are you even gonna do with her if you don't care about Siege and Guild?
You cry.
I mean, there's probably some things you can do, but like pretty much half her potential is locked behind that content, so it's a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, but I think it's a bit hard, and like in Siege, the hard part is that there will always be stronger monsters, and the thing is, what you have to do there is just abuse them. Make sure if there's one really strong monster, you use it 20 times. So it doesn't really matter what is OP at that moment. If it's an obtainable monster, you will see it everywhere.
I mean, couldn't like the Siege meta change a lot if they made it so? Like, imagine if arena leaders worked in Siege as well. You could have like Vanessa defenses, some AF defenses, a bunch of stuff.
So I've been thinking about this concept
even
for a
you
while,
4-star leads,
and I feel like it's great. You guys are like the perfect group to bring this up to. But what if you could change any leader skill from a specified location and nerfed it down to make it global? So like if you could take a 33% arena speed lead and make it a 19% global speed lead, just for options if you wanted to. Like I think bringing down a 33 down to a 24 global would be too strong. Like it would be too easy to just, you'd have 10 million different like strong Nat 5 leads, right? But what if you could bring like a Nat 5 specified lead down to a global Nat 4 lead, right? Like you could take a Vanessa lead and make it like a 19% lead and you could use it anywhere, something like that.
I like it.
Or what if they just changed all the leads to be the same? Like, so like Guild Wars leads were no longer Guild Wars leads. It was just like PvP leads. You'd have PvP leads instead of arena versus Guild Wars. Oh, Sunny just said exactly what I was talking about in chat. That's sick. But yeah, if you could have just like a generic PvP lead instead of Guild Wars and arena, or if you could take like the specified leads and change them and like nerf them down slightly to make them global leads. What do you think about that kind of concept?
I like the part where you nerf it down to global leads. That gives a lot more options and choices.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be too OP. And definitely we will see a lot of new defenses.
Yeah, so it would be kind of like, you know how like Kamoon went down from like 24 to like 19. It would be something similar to that, except probably a little bit more for Nat 5. So Nat 5s would go down to like 21 or something instead of 24, right?
Yeah.
Instead of having like a 33% Samoth lead, I think would be pretty strong. So maybe like bringing that down to like a 21 would be pretty fair, reasonable.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it could be fine, but it's also like right now, Vanessa Samoth, you don't really see them that often. I guess you see them on arena defense probably. But right now they're still getting outshunned by 24 leads most of the time.
But that would even allow you to like use Guild Wars leads in RTA, right? Like units that have Guild Wars leads in RTA, like that Sylvia could suddenly be usable in RTA. right? Like imagine a Sylvia having like a 21 or a 24% lead in RTA. Not so bad, huh? I mean, it's not like OP, but it's like
It is kind of OP.
like
But it would be fun. It would be fun to use.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
she's
true.
like 103 base speed, so you could run around Swift as a stripper and get the attack bar if you really wanted to or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she wouldn't be better than what Ryu is right now, anyways.
No.
Nothing's better.
So,
Nothing's better than
Nothing.
why Ryu 1v3 somebody the other day. I 1v3 to Bastet, Verd, Jaeger. I was like, this game is
Oh,
busted.
fuck.
Game's but I'll send you the replays. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
What are you? Disgusting.
Water Ryu, fair and balanced unit, guys.
I think he's a good unit, but they gave him too many things.
I think his cooldowns on his skill 3 are a little bit too short. The one turn is like ridiculous. You just lap everything so hard on Swift.
I mean, this is what I've been saying. I think they should just remove his speed lead, give it
Yeah.
to like light one or wind one maybe.
Yeah, the win one will still suck even if you give it a speed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wind one could be fun. Like imagine you do wind 124 lead.
You're
And then
trying,
have you on
you're trying to make
I
it
would-
work. I respect
Okay,
it.
so listen. I would just do like wind 124 lead. You can strip defense break, and then even if you fail, you can like Yon Hong boost it because it doesn't go on CD, right? So you just use a third skill again and just delete the unit.
What you're saying is I have to use Ian Hong to make.
So
me
it's like the Barba combo, but it's even better if you have like the follow up kind of.
Yeah.
But it's hard because Yunhong base speed is so high, you have to have a really slow Yunhong.
But Ryu base speed is okay, right? If you do it on Swift while on Yon Hong.
It's 103. Yeah. It's
103.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you could then even like do it with what is it called? Light Neilstone.
Yeah, Ileana.
Yeah, Ilyana. Be nice as well.
I like the concept of it though. I like the idea of possibly like making some sort of revamp to it. I would be interested in seeing if they think that that's a good idea. I think it would be a really easy way to kind of like bring more options to the game without having to like do this like crazy revamp of everything. Like they don't have to, balance a fuckload of units. They don't have to sorry, excuse my language. They don't have to balance like a ton of units. They don't have to like remake the content or anything or like set restrictions on the content. You basically just make the content more open and more accessible to different units. Right?
Yeah.
Always talking about like restrictions. So like I want Siege to only have like so many of each defense per tower. And it's like, why not instead of that, like instead of restricting people, just add more options and make things kind of fit that mold, right? The more you add to it, the more fun the content can be because it allows people to be more creative.
Yeah.
I
Gives
think the
more
only issue, with that with Siege, like, is even if you get more options, like
There's always-
because of how Siege works, it's gonna be an inherent problem where everyone just spams the same one defense anyways, even though you have more options, because that's more beneficial than spreading your
Yeah,
the ways they can counter you.
You have 5 of the same defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I just want more opportunity for the people who like create defenses to kind of like think about different things that work and have potentials to try different things. Plus, having more offense options, not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it's a bad thing in like top tier Siege, but it's definitely not a bad thing for like lower tier options. It allows people to utilize more units and like consolidate their accounts better.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I also think. Like what Obama just said, I agree there, but I think that's mostly limited to top guilds, like top 20, 30, 40 maybe.
Mhm.
But behind that, you don't see that much spam towers, at least way less. So that would make it more unique for everybody, and then especially the players that don't have that many monsters yet, they will get so much
Yeah.
more options because of it. So
And
I
the
think, yeah,
want to, right? Because not everyone wants to spam the same defense. Some people are like, I really just like using this unit, so I want to use this unit.
yeah. I really like this idea. I never heard it before, but I'm a fan. Let's do it.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to give it a try. I'd love to see how it is. Even if they did like a test Siege season or something, right? Like in between Siege seasons, they had like a test period where they're like, we're gonna test this new rule set and see what you guys think about it. That would be really cool to me, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like how we have Special League and RTA. I think concepts like that can exist. I think it's a pretty cool idea.
I
Alright, is
definitely
there-
like.
You guys wanted to talk about when it comes to like buffs, nerfs, content stuff before we kind of open, questions to the community. We've been podcasting for about an hour, so I want to like. Usually we go for so long, and we don't really have too much of a time to give the community questions. But I want to make sure like you guys have everything off your chest before we kind of move into that. You're welcome to bring anything up. You don't have to hold it back. You know. You can tell me I'm a watery. I'll accept it. Okay.
I would not. When was it? Like 3 days ago. I don't still understand RTA matchmaking. I was like not even on a huge like losing streak, and even then I won like 2 in a row, and I got 5 C3s in a row as a like rank 160-ish.
Did you lose?
Player. I lost the first game against the C3, then I won 3, and then I fought another and I lost again because they lucksack, obviously.
It's unfortunate. It's a lot of points to lose too.
I'm not sure what happened with RTA matchmaking this season, because at one point it felt like G3s only match G3s.
Yes.
For like a week, and now it kind of went back to the usual, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it didn't feel like points changed that much. But no, maybe they just... Because we haven't seen like any documented changes, but it was very obvious that G3s were only fighting G3s during a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
And now
I
it's
feel
just
like
kind of normal.
there was like an invisible point threshold where like once you cross a certain point threshold, you're only fighting people within a threshold. But I can't verify that. I don't know the actual truth on that one.
Yeah, it really felt like that, but I'm not sure what happened after, because now it feels just like it did the last couple seasons.
I feel you though, because like even just being in like G2 border range, like or rank like anywhere between like 1200 and like 600, I feel like either I'm fighting all G2 G3s or I'm fighting all C3 G1s, and it's just like every day it's different. It's just like all of one or all of the other, and then like occasionally I'll get like one of the other. It's like if I'm playing like a G2 G3 day, like occasionally I'll get a C3 like once or twice that day. And then on the other side, if I'm fighting all C3 G1s, you know, occasionally I'll get like 2 G3s in a row, and then it just stops. And it just
one thing that I noticed as well is it's really weird with how, because like you can be fighting only G3s and you have like 6 minutes queues, but then as soon as you like lose to someone, then you have like insta queue pops against G1s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just like after one single game, so I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Yeah, the matchmaking in general for RTA this season is like really.
I haven't played yet this season.
You cut out, but I guess it was. They said I guess said it was bad.
No, it's really really weird. I don't understand why it's like this season.
Like matchmaking's broken everywhere. It's like everywhere. Like all content feels like matchmaking is just really weird right now. Or maybe we're just noticing it more. Maybe it's a psychological thing, but I mean it is frustrating, and I do feel it as well.
I think it's weird, but I'm not sure if it's better or worse than it's been before in RTA. Because I think it might have been that so many more people are doing it for the achievements. So matchmaking was better for a while, but now kind of everyone hit the achievements. So maybe they park.
Yeah.
You know, what about the point climb? Point climb is crazy right now. It's like 6 to 8 points a day at G2, which is just like I didn't play for a weekend, so like I didn't play Saturday or Sunday at all because I was busy working on like some stuff in the warehouse, and I dropped 450 ranks. From like rank 700 to rank 1150, and I was just like, how did I lose that many points in 2 days?
Yeah, even the point thresholds are so much higher this season than like since they changed the point system from like the 5k point range. Because I remember last season I was like top 70 with 2048 points, and now this is not even G3 anymore, or like close to G3. It's like, I don't know how it climbed this much this season. Is it just only because of the quest rewards that so many more people play?
But are there more people playing?
Yeah, there is.
You need to confirm, right? Yeah.
Sure.
There's definitely more people playing. Like even when you just look at like ranks percentage wise, even without the points, you just look at the percentages and where things sit. It definitely is.
But then it would make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
That just the points are higher, but it doesn't really matter. But it doesn't really matter if you're playing X amount of games, have a certain win rate, and last season you were at 2100, and this season you are at 2400.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just weird. It's weird. I guess we can jump into questions now since it seems like we've kind of got it all so far. RTA's TLDR matchmaking questionable. Matchmaking is in all situations. Guild Wars, Siege, RTA, probably even Arena if you really want to talk about it. You know, a lot of
Feels fine though. I don't know. It just for Arena matchmaking feels fine.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like other servers were complaining more about it. I don't think it's such a bad thing. I mean, I've always wanted the blind arena, but that's just because I want to hit everyone. I don't care if you're my guild. You know, and the boosting and stuff like that. I just want to be able to hit everyone and have that anonymity, but I don't think it matters too much.
But since I fixed the boosting part, I think that's not really necessary. The only thing in Arena that really is a thing is that on reset weeks, people can go from G3 to C2 in one battle. If they lose 5 defenses in a minute, then they're suddenly C2 or C3. I don't know. I don't know how they can fix it, but that one feels a bit demotivating. I see a lot of people, they start rushing and then they're chilling in G3, doing their thing, and then suddenly they get 5 or 6 hits from G3 players and they're C3.
Yeah, that happened to me a couple times when I tried.
Yeah, same.
The adjustment on reset week is really bad. I think that they could make changes to reset week so it's not as punishing near the end of it, where like you gain more points early in the week or something, and then the midweek, the next week reset is like a little harder or something. But it's hard to say.
I really think they need to change something there, because you really see that some people, especially like LD abusers, that have no runes and no AOs, they suddenly get a G3 because they get skipped in that week and they just need a few wins to really get there. And then you see people who are like generally in G3. A lot of people know how to counter them because they're there every week and they can shift their defenses every week, and they suddenly get a lot of hits and drop a lot. And if that happens in the last few minutes, you just have no chance to recover.
Yeah, it ends up being really tough in that situation. Yeah, I'd love to talk more about it, like arena-wise stuff. Like, I think I'm interested in arena, but I get frustrated with like bashing my head against a wall repeatedly doing arena. But I'd be interested in like kind of revamping that through a podcast sometime, talking about like discussions for things we could change or things we could adjust, or how where the system falters, because I think a lot of people don't really know like the strong downfalls of the competitive side of the system unless you're consistently competing for G3 or Legend, right? Whereas like you 97 Legends and consistently compete in G3. So like you have a lot of experience like knowing what is frustrating in that situation, what doesn't feel right, and what feels good and what is fair, right?
Yeah, let's do a podcast on it. Sounds fun.
Yeah, we should. We can also do an interview, you and I. We can talk about it sometime.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so let's go through some questions from chat. We got a lot of questions in here. I guess I can just go through them in order. I'll read them out, and then any of you guys can just jump onto it if you want to talk about it. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So the first one was someone was asking, letting us use Ifrits for Ancient Crystals a good option potentially for early mid-game players, or is it too crazy? Limited to one Ifrit every 5 weeks. I'll quickly jump on this one. Personally, I think it's unnecessary. I think the Ancient Crystals are designed to be a system where it's like a soft pity system for summons. Let less of a you have to farm for it. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think it's necessary.
Differing opinions? Anyone?
No, I feel like it was added just to make, just like Tyler said, like it makes it so you're always excited to get in F5, even if it's something that you don't necessarily need, or it's a dupe. So I feel like being able to do that with Ifrit kind of takes away from it. And it's something that everyone would do anyways. And if that happens, so it doesn't really change it for anyone.
Maybe only for like the lower people who don't have like much dupes to begin with.
Or maybe you can do it like twice or 3 times a year or something. Maybe that'd be fine, right? You just had like a limit to it, so it's not like you have to farm this every single week. You have to farm Ifrits again and again and again, right?
I think it would be nice if they actually gave like those ancient coins in events and stuff as well, along with other ancient coins maybe sometimes.
Be cool. It's a good idea.
Instead of doing it like some weird gimmicky thing with Ifrits.
Login rewards. We've revamped rewards. I've always said that. I always think login rewards are really shitty and could be way better. And I've always said that we should get like a little bit of ancient crystals in our login rewards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
A lot of cool, like, we bring up podcasts and stuff. Okay, so people are wondering about Siege. They're talking about, do we think that Siege units, there should be restrictions on Siege units and defenses? Personally, I want to say no. And the reason I want to say no is because, and obviously I haven't been in Siege in a long time. Last time I competitively did Siege was 2019 around SWC time. But the reason that I say no is because I know that defenses already struggle so hard, because I feel like I feel like it's really hard to make something really strong when it's controlled by an AI. So you need to have factors like you need to have a lot of heavy RNG, and you need to find units that synergize really well together. So limiting the amount of things you can do with that just makes it easy to clear people, and it makes Siege more soloable. So the reason people stack towers is because it makes it harder to solo that tower as a single player, right? Not many people have 5 counters to the same defense at the same rune quality level. So that's my opinion on it. Obviously, you guys play in super high tier Siege, so maybe you have a differing opinion.
I just think they need to add more options, and I think the example that you just gave, like with changing the leads, would be way more interesting. And in a way, it's already a bit limited because we have net 4 towers.
Mm-hmm.
And in most sieges, you see the same 2, 3, maybe 4 towers being rotated anyways.
So do you think that a limit, like what kind of units, like how many of a unit you could put in those towers would be beneficial, or do you think it would just be like frustrating?
I think it would be frustrating. Because the thing is, if you make 4 different towers, for example, you don't then the only thing that you're going to change is that the win rates go up, because people will have more counters.
And even you need more defenses, because if you can only put like one specific dev or like monster in each tower, then you need so many different defenses to build. First, you need like really good defenses to begin with. That makes sense. And even then, it's like, yeah, I think that's really a good idea.
And it increases the value of LD monsters by a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad or a good idea. I think it's since Siege is the way it is, like it's a battle for inches anyways. Like every single defense you get in like the tournament setting is big. And it would be like easier for both guilds to fight. And there would be more variety. So I'm not sure, but I think it would be for sure easier, and I think there needs to be like strong defenses. Because if you just win every siege, then more people are gonna be like, even though you like winning in Siege, it's gonna not be interesting if you just win everything every time.
It'd be boring, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's hard to say. But it's really boring to fight the same thing over and over again, so there needs to be like something to make it interesting. Like a middle line.
Mm-hmm. So somebody in chat asks if we have any opinions on the hinted Veramos buff. If you guys didn't see it already in the with Hive notice with the Korea guilds were saying, like, you know, why are the starting missions still for Veramos? Veramos feels very out of meta. You know, what about potentially making it, you know, choose a different one or choose whatever fusion you want to work towards? And there was kind of like a subtle hint that maybe Veramos could be getting a buff because he's just kind of really out of meta right now. I think he recently got one anyways. It was pretty small, but what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think Veramos for like early gamers is completely unnecessary. Especially, I mean, Lauren, Vert, Jan, like, and Sigmarus are just way better. And I don't think you really even need Veramos to begin with, like an early gamer. I think it's like even better to just skip him. Progress way faster.
But how would they buff him? It all depends on how he's getting buffed.
Exactly.
Extra. It's a bit hard to say right now, because if he gets an insane buff, then everybody's going to use it because he's obtainable and everybody can get him and everybody's going to build him. But if he gets a shitty buff, then he's still not going to be used. So where do you want to buff him for? Do you want to buff him, like, for example, for early game players, or do you want to buff him in general? And then only for Siege, because there was a time where he was OP everywhere, right?
He can cleanse all debuffs now, like even stuns.
Yeah, but then he's going to be very OP in RTA.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. It all depends the buff. It's hard to say anything up front.
Yeah, it's really hard to speculate on stuff like that because we don't have any clue on like what direction that's going to go in. Whether it's going to be OP, whether it's not going to be OP, if they want to make it more of a support unit, more of a damage unit, more of a control unit. Like there's just so many different directions it could go. Veramos is really a clean slate nowadays and could be taken in every direction.
But I think in general it's fine if they buff him. Like a lot more people will be able to use him, even he's not usable in endgame.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them doing something like where he heals the whole team, maybe. Probably like small quality of life things that could make it easier for beginners. Because I guess that's what they would be aiming for with that unit, since it's the fusion. Probably not going to be something that's going to like affect us too much, I don't think.
Wouldn't it make more sense that it affects us? Because in early game you don't even really need him anyway. So maybe
no, but
him
I
more
think
appealing for
that's.
us.
I mean, that would be weird because they're like having the fusions as like a gateway for new players to get enough 5s and get that impact. So I think they would probably try to address that, make him actually useful.
I don't know if that's relevant anymore because like as much as that was kind of the idea, I feel like 2As has really taken over that job, right? Like fusions are not the gateway to having strong units now for the game. Like the gateway to having strong units for the game is like 2A units, like 2A Bella Dion, 2A Shannon, 2A Naomi, Bernard, Vigor. Like all those units just like carry you so hard in the game now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's both, but I don't see like why would they need to buff a fusion for late game players in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Or like in
Doesn't
general
really
for
make sense to
both.
me.
Maybe for both.
Yeah, what I'm just looking for is like I don't know. I honestly don't know what to say on that. I really don't know. There's so many options and it's really just up in the air. How many different things it could be. So someone's asking about RTA, the competitive nature of RTA. Do you think that people are still farming in lower ranks? Do you believe that higher rank people should get more rewards than we're currently having? You know, and then maybe like incentives for climbing. So like I think so their example was 2 points per loss. I personally think that we already have the incentive for climbing and it comes down to like the achievements. I think the achievements are good and I think the achievements have fit a pretty solid place. I mean, I've only played 570 matches, but like that's still a lot of matches. 19 days of full wings every single time, right? Like not everyone plays full wings and I just finished clearing all of my rewards. So I think that the incentives for people to like actually play RTA are there. I do think that a lot of people will still farm just because it's more convenient for them time-wise. Hopefully these end of season rewards will be good enough to kind of convince people to stay, especially with how much the points are climbing. I'm not sure if people will be able to climb back to their ranks nearly as fast, like G2 and G3 people who want to finish in those ranks. But curious as to what you guys think.
I'm not sure how many people are actually farming, but I think like one issue is that people are always gonna feel that people are farming because at some point, if you're gonna start playing RTA, even if you finished G3 last season, you're gonna start in fighter. So like people are always gonna run into people who are guardians in fighter at some point.
But I actually do see a lot of low ranked people, like people in fighter 3, C1, C2, complain often about farmers. And also, of course, farm botters. But I do see that quite a lot, especially, for example, in like Dutch groups or anything areas. People are complaining about it. So I don't know how big the problem is because I never experienced it because I'm one of those people you just described. When I start playing, I will be very soon into Guardian ranks and I'm out of there. And even those farmers, you can win them. I don't know how that is for lower ranked people or how big of a problem it is.
think it's just really frustrating for them to like maybe get matched with 5 farmers in a row, and then they're like, yeah, I can't do anything because like the rune difference is so great that it doesn't matter what I pick, even if he's like auto picking. He's like auto picking his Feng bruisers, whatever, and I just don't have the damage to kill them. Too tanky.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that like it's weird to have people who ended Guardian 3 still be able to start Fighter in the middle of a season. And I
agree
still
with
feel like Fighters and Conquerors
so bad.
are actually really strong compared to what they were before nowadays. I feel like the average Conqueror probably beats the average Guardian player who just autos, for sure.
But does it really matter? Because like from that perspective, I started my wings yesterday. I literally did 12 or 13 wings, and I'm already C2, almost C3. So it really feels like that's not really a problem. It's more that the farmers are a problem, that you face a lot of people who just do it for those points so they can buy their scrolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is the bots, right? I think the bots are honestly the biggest
Yeah.
issue because the bots emulate the game so that like it's not truly autoing, right?
No.
Because people always recommend that like, you know, if you've autoed so many turns in a row, it should automatically forfeit the match for you. The problem is that there are bots that make it so that would never happen, and that's like creating that just punishes people who DC and then can't reconnect right away, right? But like the issue we need to tackle is the bots, and it's always going to be the bots, right? It's the same with people who farm with bots. Like tackling that issue is really difficult because tracing it is extremely difficult.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent you can't.
Yeah.
It's very hard, especially with 30 RTA wings. Is how can you prove that that wasn't somebody? Like if somebody bots 24/7 and always exactly after 20 seconds or after 5 seconds clicks that button, it's very easy to spot, right? But with 30 wings, it's just 30 wings a day. It's
I mean, I know what we have to do. We just need to put up like those Elia and monster quizzes in the middle of an RTA match. And you have to like, press them, and then you're fine.
Anything with that. Anything with you. Imagine you're just tilting like the guy's Sierra just procs 3 times in a row, and you're like about to take your turn. It's like, all right, select Elliot characters, and then you click 3 Elliot characters, and you run out of time, and suddenly Okeanos didn't use skill 3, and you're like, all right, we lost, guys. GG, we tried. Elliot made us lose.
Even there, like there was one guy, he was streaming his bot for a while on Twitch. I think he got banned, but that bot was fixing those questions as well.
Yeah, because it's not that hard to scan. That's why they made them black and white, and then it still doesn't matter because they're still scannable.
Yeah, but they will always be scannable. That's the issue.
It always will. Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? Like that's why they have those like click and drag ones nowadays on a lot of captures. But even those are like doable by bots.
Yeah, and they're annoying.
The more advanced you make a bot check, the less likely you are to actually get it right as a human. Is more what it is. Like the bots, you just design the bots to get them right all the time. Eventually, they will all just continuously get them right.
Do you know if the bot guys try to climb at the end of the season, or I think maybe some, right? But not all.
Usually, I would say a fair amount of people that like farm and bot will always climb to G1 at the end of a season.
Yeah, maybe just make a threshold that you can go under a specific rank anymore. For example, if you finish Guardian once, you can never go to Fighter again. So at least you.
Yeah, it's nicer for the Fighter players, but it doesn't inherently solve the issue, right? It's more like a band-aid fix. Because Fighter is less frustrated, but it doesn't change anything for the Conqueror to play. Because theoretically, if the Guardian farmers are not ever playing against fighters, that means that they're only fighting against Conquerors, which means it's even harder for Conquerors, right? So like you fix one issue, but you create another.
Yeah, but at least the Conquerors players have like more of a chance to beat those Guardian. Because as I think Barbo or Chris said, the difference isn't that high anymore against like a, I think Barbo said it, like an auto G1 guy and a normal Conqueror player anymore. But if you go like down to Fighter, I think it's another story. Yeah. Fighter and Conqueror is like,
I guess the quality difference is there, but like that still doesn't solve the issue, right?
Yeah, I mean, but at least helps a bit, right?
it helps soften the blow for it. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. It's just not quite the right fix.
But those players, what I'm also wondering, I have no clue. But those players who are in F3, are they in F3 because they get wrecked by bots, and would normally be in Conqueror, or are they really F3 players? Like
So many bots that's hard to say. I think
Yeah.
the thing is the system would correct itself. So if all those bots stopped playing in fighter, most of those people would be like border C1, but then they would get slammed by all the C1 players like that are actually there, right? Because what happens is if the bots stop being in fighter 3 and they move up to C3 or C1 and C2, the C2 players drop a little bit, which means the C1 players drop a little bit. So the border just shifts is all it really does, right?
Yeah.
So at the same time, I feel like it doesn't quite regulate itself well enough to do that.
Yeah, I really don't know how big the problem is. But I just hear a lot of people. I even saw some people in chat now saying they face it a lot, and because of that they don't want to play, and that's really what you want to avoid. You want, at least if they want to play, them to play as fairly as possible. But if you have to face 7 out of 10 wings, like somebody just said, against bots, it's just not fun anymore. You just don't do it anymore.
I think it also, there's probably people who are just, because they're fighting bots, they might just auto themselves and try to get some points. Possibly. Especially now that you can farm while you're autoing RTA.
True.
So there are probably people that aren't bots that just like play RTA for random points, just autoing.
Just autoing,
well.
yeah.
No.
All right, we have
Just
a
cleaving it, right?
couple more questions here. So if you guys have any more, we'll take like 2 or 3 more questions. Sorry, you were saying something, Chris?
Yeah, but also cleaving, right? Like I remember in the early seasons, everybody wanted to have those extra effects, and they farmed them. And I have to admit, I'm guilty there as well. I would just drop into F3 and cleave some people, and then lose 10 battles, and then do 10 battles, and then just get the points. So I don't know how many people are doing that instead of that are really bothered, you know?
Mhm.
I think
Cleaving is a pretty successful way to get through your wings up until C3. Once you hit C3, you just like stop.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Chris, you're cancelled now.
I have to admit, that was season 1 though, so it's a long time ago.
So someone's asking, how do you feel about making arena towers max for everyone in RTA? Personally, I don't think they should do that. I do think that they should make arena towers easier to level. Instead of lowering the requirements for the arena towers, I think they should just give more glory. So that way, everybody who does arena now, if you already have max towers, you can get more scrolls. If you don't have max towers, it's easier to max your towers. I think the process to max your towers out should be a little bit faster, maybe like 20% faster overall. But I don't think that they should lower the requirements that they've already had. And I don't think that they should be added to RTA. I think that RTA is a content where, even though it's been separated and they give you a lot of like free leeway with it, I don't think that it's something that should be encouraged to like jump into right away, because it's just going to demoralize you more in the game. I think it's something you should build up to and work towards.
Yeah, I think it's good that glory towers get cheaper, but I think guild flags are an even bigger offender.
I've never maxed my guild flags. My defense flag maxed. Don't tell my guild I said that. They don't know yet.
I showed my stream my guild flags after the siege finals. I think I have
I didn't want to say anything, but we have somebody in our midst.
Yeah, I have 2 of them level 3 and 2 of them level 4.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty. 2 of them level 3, 2 of them level 4. Feels good.
And that was #1 contribution for the finals.
You hear that, guys?
Biggest flex.
Okay, you also have max arena towers for a long time, right?
I mean, I've had them maxed since like a year now, but it was basically just
Yeah, but you were
one level
playing
on some towers.
for like 2 years without max towers.
Yeah, that's true.
But
So
is maxing your arena tower so hard? I mean, I personally, when I started playing the game, I started maxing those towers before I started farming dungeons.
I mean,
So
it's
I would crystal refresh for wings instead of crystal refreshing for energy, and I would just use the energy that I had from events and that I got from recharging. And I had my towers already maxed, I think, like after 8 or 9 months into the game.
I wouldn't say that it's that hard to max them. It's just that it's boring, and you don't really get any like instant gratification that you get from like scrolls or any other reward, kind of.
Yeah, but they're better than scrolls. They're like permanent stats on all your monsters.
Yeah, like no one says they're better or worse. It's just that they're boring, you know. Like even if they like, it could just be that they didn't exist and it wouldn't have changed anything, kind of, because it just added stats.
Yeah, but by speeding it up, we're just saying, okay, we're gonna give you scrolls more early, or we're gonna give you more scrolls.
Yeah, but I think like the thing is they are boring to get, like the flags and the towers. So it doesn't really matter about the scrolls. You just get the like bonuses from the towers quicker. I think that's the main thing. And I feel like most people who get all the towers, you don't really care that much about the glory points after, to the same extent, as well. Like you just get some scrolls here and there as bonus, I guess.
Yeah, I feel that.
At least you can do arena and farming at the same time now. Not like
Yeah, it makes it a
No.
lot
then.
nicer. a lot nicer. Being able to farm while doing other stuff is great.
Yep.
I actually feel like I progress. Like I feel like I'm actually doing stuff now. Unlike before, I just feel like I'm lazy.
Yeah, actually I do like midweek arena wings more often than I used to, because back then I did like none. Because I was like, okay, I do arena, I can farm, and arena is boring, so I rather farm, and now I can do both. So
Yeah, I do like 150 to 300 a week, depending if I rush. If I rush, I do closer to 300. If I don't rush, I do like 160 to 180. Depends on the day. I think arena rewards could also use another revamp.
I mean, I think
yeah.
if there was, I think if they added like some like into the achievement things with glory towers and guild flags, that could be nice as well. So you get something fun while you're maxing them. Because I know where they have them, and it's like a weird, like floor that you have to get over to actually compete. I mean, you can do it without, but it's pretty bad.
like get a legend scroll when you got speed tower rank 10.
Yeah, probably
Okay.
something like that. Like something that makes it like engaging, and you still get like feeling of progression when you max them.
Just to make it fun that you got it.
Yeah, exactly. Because like sure, like you get the stat bonuses, but that's not something that you really feel. Even though you kind of need it to like compete. So it's just
I
weird,
mean,
like,
on the end game,
level.
people feel it, and most people want it. But maybe for early game, you're right. You know, it's boring, so you don't really feel the effect that quickly, unless you go from 1 to 10.
I mean, even like endgame players don't really notice when you go from like level 9 to level 10. Except for maybe like speed tower, I guess.
Yeah.
But like if you get 1.5% more attack, you get like 5 more attack on your units. It's not something that you really notice after like farming arena for maybe 2 weeks to get that extra upgrade.
You only notice it when you leave a unit at 1 HP. Literally 1 HP. You notice it though.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad.
But yeah, maybe they should just make it more fun to reach certain levels on your towers. Like maybe adding achievements in there.
Yeah.
I
I
can
like
feel
it.
that.
Adding more achievements to the game is great. You know, more dopamine is great for new players. It's what keeps people playing. Like a lot of these new games that are like super cash grabby are games where it's just like there's constantly pop-ups like, hey, you won this, or like you achieved this, or you've unlocked this, take this free item. Like having that for something that's actually important, like glory, like giving you more glory, or giving you, you know, some scrolls to summon along the way, like that's actually pretty good. And it's not like a cheap like trick to get people to play the game. It's like something that actually helps them and is relevant to people who are already playing the game.
Yeah.
Because like no one can argue that glory towers are no more worth to get than scrolls. But I would say that they're like, for a lot of players, they're probably less tempting. And like then it can go even worse. Like if you don't upgrade your towers, you kind of fall into where you haven't upgraded them for so long that you're kind of hesitant to actually upgrade them.
Speaking of yourself.
No, I mean this is just from like one thing, because I thought I had the crystal dragon for like forever, And then I noticed like that I didn't have the crystal dragon, and now I like refuse to get it because I wasted so many crystals not having it. I just refuse to buy that dragon.
How long
like-
is it for? It's been out for 3 years, right?
Yeah, something like that. And I thought I had it like the whole time, and then I noticed like after a year that I didn't have it.
I feel like you should just buy it now. Say fuck
Yeah.
it.
No, I'm not gonna buy it.
Just do
How
it.
much is it? How much
No.
is it even? 250?
It pays off after 6 months.
I'm not gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy a. I'm gonna buy a summoner's pack instead and get a chunk pong. Oh, it's 500 crystals.
Oh,
Yeah.
500.
Yeah, that's not bad. It's not bad.
Why can't I buy
Overall,
2 of those?
Overall, though, that was a good podcast. I missed you guys. I really do miss you guys. It's been a long time. It's nice to talk about something other than just like only RTA as well. You know, obviously, a lot of us play RTA. You guys play at quite a high level, but it's nice to talk about other stuff. It's nice to talk about the game. It's nice to talk about the other aspects of the game that are kind of lacking in love. You know, I feel like Comp to Us. Maybe I just don't feel like that. I feel like a lot of people think that Comp to Us hates Siege and hates Arena, which is probably true. For lack of a better way to put it, I feel like they don't really care that much about it, but maybe having more conversations about it on the podcast or, you know, just on open forums is something that can bring more attention to it.
Maybe it's not only lack of interest, it's also maybe just afraid to change things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe they are afraid of the like backlash.
Because it's also, if you look from Contour's perspective, sometimes it's very hard to change things because you never make everybody happy. So, do you get more people complaining from changing stuff, or do you get more people from complaining from not changing something? For example, data. Like not many people, a lot of people don't like it, but they are not really complaining about it. If you suddenly bring a Kaki in, everybody is bashing and complaining. So, it's maybe also a bit more a safe choice from Contours
Mm-hmm.
than really not caring about it.
No, for sure. It makes sense.
But we'll see now, right? Because now we had the whole interview thing. So if they don't change anything now, then it's pretty much sure it's the caring part.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, so we'll probably start to wrap up here. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about, bring up to the chat? Anything you guys want to say to them?
Not really. I had a fun podcast.
Yeah.
I'm happy you took over and it's still going on.
Oh, it's great to have you. I really appreciate having you guys on here. I know the EU time zone makes it a little bit more difficult, so I do appreciate you guys taking time out of your week to come spend with us for the community and such. If you guys want to contact any of these guys, they all stream. All of their socials and everything will be posted in the YouTube video. I'll have it up hopefully by tomorrow, at the latest by Thursday. But podcast will be live on my channel, !PodVod, if you want to see where that is. So my YouTube channel will be the podcasts. However, they'll always be here on Stoic's channel on Twitch. So obviously you guys can catch these guys anywhere. Crizzle, thank you so much for being here. Marvin as well. Yeah, Mr. X Knight and Obabo. It's great to have you guys. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, next time we get you guys on, there'll be some cool things to talk about, whether that's a balance patch or whether that's, you know, some changes to content, some nice revamps or anything. But thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it. And big shout out again. Thank you, Stoic, to our director for putting this together, doing all the background work. We get a round of applause for him. If everyone could a nice smile and chat or a heart for him, I'd appreciate that. Thank you so much for helping us out. And thank you guys for being here with us as the community and supporting what we continue to do here. So
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
thanks
See
for being
ya.
here, guys. I appreciate it.